I brought you here because heaven decided to speak to you today. Yes, to you. It wasn't by chance. It wasn't just a click. It was a calling. I see the moment when you prayed and no one answered. I see the instant you asked, "Has God forgotten me?" And everything around was silence. But today, that silence is breaking. There is a response that was sealed, kept like a promise, and it's being released right now, like a spiritual code that could only be activated in this moment. Imagine a door that's been closed for years, with a key no one knew how to find. Now, that key has appeared. Do you feel it? Not here, in your mind, but deep in your chest. A gentle warmth, a tear that comes without warning. That's the sign the presence has arrived. This message isn't for just anyone. It was hidden until the right time, and that time starts now. If everything is falling apart around you, if you feel like you've reached your limit, if your prayers haven't been answered, then understand this, that too was seen. That too has a response. Heaven doesn't act on human urgency. Heaven acts in the time of eternity, and that time has manifested right here on this screen, in this moment, through these words. A seal is being broken, like when an angel descends with a scroll of light and says, "Now, release what was bound." You may have felt ignored, but you weren't. You were protected. The promise wasn't denied. It was simply in silence. Maybe you're tired. Maybe you did everything right and nothing changed. Maybe you were faithful and still you weren't chosen. But I tell you, today you're not just listening to a video, you're receiving an answer. The answer that crossed time, that waited for your soul to mature, that could only be delivered after your last secret tear. Don't try to understand with logic. Heaven's language isn't reason, it's revelation. Close your eyes for a moment, if you can. Take a deep breath. Feel the air entering like light. A soft breeze, an invisible touch on your shoulder, a chill with no explanation. That's how heaven speaks, and it's speaking now. If this message touched something that's been silent inside you, leave a comment below. I receive heaven's answer. Don't just write it, declare it. That comment is a key. It's your act of faith, because this word was sealed with your name, and now it's been opened. And now that the seal is broken, you are ready to hear what heaven has revealed. God's silence was not absence, it was preparation. You asked for an answer, and what came was silence. At first it felt like a delay, then it became a wait, and finally a growing doubt. Does he still hear me? But listen closely, because God's silence is never indifference. It's a divine strategy. When heaven is silent, it means something is being written beyond human eyes. Silence is the space between the seed and the fruit, between the prayer and the revelation. You weren't forgotten, you were hidden, because some answers only bloom at the exact time your soul is ready. Some blessings don't arrive when we ask, but when we are ready to no longer depend on them, God didn't answer, because he was preparing you not to get lost when the answer came, and now it's coming. Picture a warrior. Before battle, the general takes him away, trains, refines, tests. But the warrior doesn't hear applause, only the sound of his own effort. Maybe that was you. While your eyes searched for signs, heaven was digging foundations. While you cried out in the dark, the angel was writing your name into a new chapter. That's why many didn't understand your pain, not even those closest to you, because there are wounds that are spiritual, and only heaven can translate them. You cried on the inside. While smiling on the outside, you kept serving. Even when tired, you kept believing, even in silence. And now, the time of harvest is near. Some people you loved didn't see you. Others walked away. But none of it was a loss. It was divine selection. God didn't let you bond with those who would delay your purpose. He removed them, and He kept you. Everything you felt you lost was just the scene being cleared so the miracle could fit. Nothing that seemed stuck was without motion. The answer didn't come yet, because it was being built with details too great for you to handle all at once. Now notice, in recent days, the world around you began to slow down. People disappeared. Situations distanced themselves. What felt urgent lost power. Do you know what that means? Heaven is clearing space for something to descend, and when heaven clears, it's because it's about to fill. Make no mistake, the stillness you feel today is the sound of preparation. Because when God answers, He doesn't announce it, He moves. You won't see heaven saying, "I'm acting," but you'll feel doors opening, people reaching out, the impossible bending. This silence you've lived through will be remembered as the time when God worked the most for you. And the next chapter of this revelation will show you that this answer doesn't come alone. It carries a sign, and that sign bears your name. The energy of the answer is moving now. There's something in the air, but it's not just wind, it's vibration. It's a response in motion. As you listen to this message, a flow is being opened. It's not visible to the eyes, but your spirit feels it. Have you ever noticed how, sometimes, the atmosphere changes for no apparent reason? That sudden peace, or that feeling that something is about to happen. That's not ordinary intuition. It's heaven sending a signal. At this very moment, a shift of light is moving toward you. And that light carries what you've been waiting for. But pay attention. The answer doesn't always come with loud sound. It comes gently, with subtlety, with small signs that strike deeply. It might be a name that repeats itself, an old memory that suddenly returns, or an invisible presence that gives you chills even in silence. These are the first movements, like the wind announcing the arrival of rain, like the smell of earth before a sacred storm. And this is not just any answer. It's the one that comes with the weight of eternity, the one that gives meaning to all your pain, that closes the cycle, that points to the new, and finally confirms that God never left you. Heaven doesn't release something like this without subtle warnings, and you've been receiving several, including this message. None of this is happening by accident. The synchronicity that brought you here is part of the plan. You are being led with precision, as if an invisible compass were guiding your steps. And now, if you feel a gentle warmth in your chest, an emotion growing without explanation, that's presence. That's divine energy touching your soul. And when this energy touches, it transforms. It turns confusion into clarity, burden into understanding, long waiting into precise revelations. In the coming days, you may notice changes in small details. Someone reappearing, an unexpected message, a repeated sign. Write everything down. Discard nothing, because when God begins to move, everything gains meaning. Remember, heaven doesn't work in spectacle. It works in spiritual coherence. And when the answer comes, it brings confirmation. And that confirmation will come with 3 signs. Signs only those who carry the promise in their spirit will recognize. Now that the energy is in motion, it's time to decode the codes, because not every answer comes written. Some come disguised as coincidence, but none of them are wasted. Because those with a promise also receive instructions, and these instructions are about to be revealed. 3 signs that show this answer is for you. There are promises that come with a seal, but others come with signs. And these signs are not random. They are the language of the invisible, the language of heaven speaking directly to your spirit. You may not have noticed it, but this answer has already begun to be announced, and it carries 3 clear signs. The first sign is repetition. Repetition of numbers, of names, of symbols. You wake up and see 11:11 on the clock. You open your phone and see the same number again. Someone says a name that you heard in a dream yesterday. These aren't accidents. They are spiritual codes for those who are sensitive. Signs like this start to appear when an answer is near. They warn, they prepare, they confirm you're on the right path. The second sign is the sudden pause. Something that was about to happen gets cancelled. A plan that was certain is interrupted. A contact disappears without explanation. But with that pause comes a strange peace, as if something inside said, "Good thing that didn't happen." That's heaven redirecting your steps from a place with no harvest. It's God pulling you out of paths that looked like blessings, but would have trapped you even more. Don't mourn the doors that closed without warning. They closed so that the right one could open with honor. And the third sign is emotion without reason. Tears that appear out of nowhere. Chills in silent moments. That unexplainable urge to give thanks, even when nothing has changed externally. That's the purest sign, because it doesn't come from the outside in. It comes from the inside up. It's like your soul saying, "I haven't received it yet, but I already feel it coming." It's the signal of alignment with the miracle, the exact point where faith and promise meet. And when that point is activated, the impossible begins to bow. These 3 signs are not tests, they're confirmations. They're how heaven touches the earth without using words. If at least one of these signs has visited you in recent days, understand the answer has already been released. It's just waiting to be recognized. And recognition doesn't come from the mind. It comes through the spirit. Because what is spiritual is only accessed through surrender. But it doesn't end here. Because something even deeper is happening right now. Heaven didn't just respond, it wrote something with your name. And that name was sealed with light. The next step is to discover what was written. The word sealed in heaven is being released in your name. There are records that humans cannot see, and names written in places where pain cannot enter. Your name is there. You thought you had been forgotten, but you weren't. You were preserved. While your mind was thinking about giving up, your spirit was still being mentioned before the throne. And now, what was written is being released. You have no idea what has been decreed in your favor behind the scenes of heaven. While you cried, a command was being written. While you slept, an answer was taking shape. The name that seemed invisible among men is the same one shining in the books above. Heaven keeps records, but they're not records of your mistakes. They're records of promises, and your promise hasn't expired. It was just kept, like a gift that can only be delivered when the right person reaches the right place. And that place is this moment. Visualize now, an angel before a great book. He opens it, turns the page, looks directly at your name, and says, "The time has come." That seal had remained untouched, but the waiting time is over, and now, what was just a word becomes manifestation. You might feel something physical right now. A weight lifting, a lightness arriving. It's the impact of something spiritually released. It's like when the door of a prison cell opens, and light bursts in without asking. That's what's happening to you. The answer has arrived, but it doesn't come empty. It carries with it a release, a closure, a preparation for something new. You will begin to notice a shift in the atmosphere around you. Old people disappearing, others arriving with a different frequency. New conversations, clear paths. All of this is a symptom of what has been activated now. Because when the word is released, it reorganizes the world around you so that destiny can unfold. And maybe none of this makes sense yet, but you'll look back and realize nothing was in vain. Everything was leading you to this release. But there's still one more movement to make. A gesture of faith that turns this answer into reality. And that will happen through a living prayer, a guided visualization, a symbolic pact between you and heaven. It's time to activate the invisible with the language of the Spirit. And this activation begins now. There's a place where these words continue, where revelations are delivered in silence, to those who carry faith in their spirit. If something in you felt this calling, become a guardian of faith. The link is in the description. You help this mission reach other hearts. Activate the answer. Prayer and guided visualization, some words touch, others awaken. But there are those that activate. The answer reaching you today isn't just a spoken promise. It's a living frequency, a calling to align your spirit with what heaven has already released. And now, you're going to feel it. Take a deep breath. If you can, close your eyes. Not out of obligation, but because something inside you needs silence. To open, visualize a key in front of you, golden, radiant. It pulses with light, as if alive. This key isn't just symbolic. It represents everything that's been locked in your story. The relief that never came, the answer that didn't arrive, the blessing that always seemed to be in someone else's hands. Now, bring this key to a door. You don't need to force it. It fits perfectly. When that door opens, it's not the world that changes. It's you. A light surrounds you, but it's not a blinding light. It's a healing light. It touches the wounds no one sees. It seals what had been silently cracked. Whisper within yourself, I receive the answer. I accept God's timing. I align with the promise that carries my name. Feel your body. Maybe you'll get chills, or feel the urge to cry. Don't resist. It's the Spirit's touch on what had been dormant. Now visualize 3 figures of light approaching, The first holds a sword. It's Saint Michael. He cuts the ties of fear, injustice, and delay. The second carries a scroll. It's Archangel Gabriel. He reveals what was hidden. He announces the decree. The third touches your heart with emerald green light. It's Archangel Raphael. He heals memories, traumas, and patterns that blocked your receiving. You are at the center of all this, not as someone begging, but as someone who was called. The energy of the answer has been released, but it materializes when welcomed with faith and presence. In the coming days, the atmosphere around you will shift. You won't be able to explain it, but you'll feel that something has been unlocked. And whenever doubt returns, come back to this prayer, because there are spiritual covenants that don't fade with time. They are renewed through presence. And when presence becomes covenant, it opens the space for promise to become reality. But before this cycle closes, there is one last word, not an explanation, but an eternal seal, a spiritual legacy placed upon your life, and it will be revealed. Now, there are moments when heaven speaks clearly, and others when it simply seals. And today, what you received wasn't just a revelation. It was a seal, a type of spiritual mark that time can't erase, that doesn't depend on human words or on outside confirmation. This message carried something sacred, a silent confirmation that the invisible is moving, and you were included in it. You weren't drawn here by curiosity, you were summoned by name, because the word that came from God's mouth does not return without fulfilling its purpose. And over you, it was declared like this: what was held back for so long will now be released with honor. What was delay becomes momentum. What was pain transforms into direction. This is the answer, but not just any answer. It's the one that touches old cycles, heals forgotten wounds, and whispers to the spirit. You survived because you were chosen. Heaven saw you fallen, and still didn't discard you, saw you tired, and still didn't revoke your calling. Saw you lost, but knew exactly where to find you, and found you now. Don't ignore the signs that come after this message. They won't be random. There'll be traces of the promise in motion. Some will feel this intensely, others like a gentle breeze on the face. But everyone touched by this word will carry something different from now on. Presence and presence in the spiritual world is inheritance. What was activated in you here won't fade, and it will be passed on to your loved ones, even without words. That's the difference between blessing and legacy. A blessing is received, a legacy remains, like a light glowing inside the house, even when the windows are shut, like a name written in stone, not sand. And if you felt this strongly, if something inside you recognized this answer, then carry it as a covenant, a silent covenant between who you are and what heaven revealed about you. And now, before we close, listen to this quote as the final echo of what was planted today. There is no greater power than this, a heart that trusts in the unseen and stands firm until the unseen becomes destiny. May this be a seal over your path. If this word sealed something inside you, write in the comments, "Heaven spoke to me, and I received it." And when what was released comes to pass, come back here. Your testimony will be the echo of what heaven did in silence. The journey doesn't end here. More is being revealed. The next message is already on the screen. Feel it with your heart. Receive what heaven still wants to show you.